Okay, in this video we're going to show you how array formulas can emulate or basically duplicate the functionality of SUMIF function, which you probably know. So the file is makeuparraytemp.xlsx. So let's look at the data. We've got some transaction numbers of girls selling makeup. We've got the girl's name, the date they sold the product they sold, the number of units, and the number of dollars. So you might want to know, for instance, how many units were sold by Jen. Well, you probably know you could do this with the SUMIF function. To make things easier, we're going to name ranges of cells, which we have not done yet. So I'm going to name this column name, this column date, this column product. You'll see how this makes my life easier. Okay, so I'm going to select these columns, Control Shift right arrow, Control Shift down arrow, go Formulas, Create from Selection, Names in top row. So basically what that means, if you go to this little thing called the name box and you click on name, I've named that whole name column name. I've named that whole product column product. And I also want to name this whole array here, okay, to use database statistical functions, which you probably should learn anyway. So I'm going to name that range data. To name that range data, all I have to do is go to the name box, type in data. And if I go back to the name box, it'll highlight those yellow cells. Okay, so let's just in this video, we'll make it short, focus on how many units were sold by Jen. Let's do it by SUMIF, which you probably know, or if you don't, we'll teach you. And then with a database statistical function, and then with an array formula. And then the next example will emulate SUMIFS, okay? And then the next video, we will basically show you how the arrays can do ORs, which are pretty difficult to do. There's no SUMIF with an or SUMIFS with an or. There's only a SUMIF with an and or a SUMIFS with an and. Okay, so I could use a function wizard here. So if I would go to all functions and I would type in SUMIF, I can just fill in the prompts. Okay, the range I want to add up is units. Now, when you name a range, you don't have to point to the data. You can hit F3. I'm hitting F3 here, and I can just put in units. And then the range and criteria are, the range would be the girl's name. That defines the rows I add up. And then the name is Jen. You don't need quotes if you use the function wizard here. Okay, so what that says is the name is Jen, add up the name column has Jen in it, add up the units column. That's very straightforward. Let's do it one more way without an array. Okay, there's a database statistical function. Now, if you go in the function wizard, you may not have used these, but they can be pretty useful. They begin with D. Let's go database. So there's like D average. When they begin with D like this, that means do an average on a conditional set of rows. D count means do a count on conditional set of rows. D count A, when we're based on a number. Count numbers. This would count all non-blanks in conditional range. DGet will get a cell. Then DMax, DMin, DProduct. DSUM sounds like DSUM sounds like DSUM, which we're going to use now. Then there's DStandard deviation, which will find a standard deviation on a set of rows. DProduct, etc. Okay, D-variance, D-population variance. So these are useful functions. What you need is what's called a criteria range. Like this is a criteria range. So this would say like the name, and the way it works is, if that's your criteria range, everything in the same row is treated as an and. So this would say, find every row where the name is Jen and the product is lipstick. Okay, I was just going to do name is Jen for now. Now, this criteria, when things are in different rows, it treats as ORs. That criteria would say, flag every row where the name is Jen or the product is lipstick. But in this video, let's just do the name is Jen. Okay, so the way this works is you would go DSUM, and then we'll get to the arrays. So you go DSUM, the database is our data, all our columns, so we could use data. Now next is the field. What column do you want to add up? Well, that's the fourth column in the range. And then the criteria would be the name being Jen. Now that's fairly cumbersome, but it's still a nice thing to know how to do. And I get 9537. So that says use the yellow range data. We're going to add up stuff in the fourth column as long as the name is Jen. Okay, now how about doing this with arrays? Well, you can use what's called Boolean arrays. So I can say sum, and I can create one array by saying name column equals gen. What that does is whenever there's a gen in the name column, it puts a 1 in the array, otherwise a 0. Same as like 1 for true, 0 for false. And if I multiply that by the units column, I would get the same answer. So if I do this sum, and I'll say name, I could use F3, but actually autocomplete, it gets the range name. Name equals gen. That's got to be in quotes here. And then if I simply multiply that times, I could use F3, I could paste in units. Okay, now Excel's going to not know what to do with this unless I make it an array formula with Control-Shift-Enter. But what you'll see in a second, what this does, creates an array. It goes down the name column, puts a 1 in there whenever the name is gen, and a 0 otherwise. And then it creates an array of the units column, and it multiplies them. So what will it pick up? Whenever there's a gen in the name column, there'll be a 1, and then basically that gets multiplied by the units. That's the same as the SUMIF. So I hit Control-Shift-Enter, and I get the 9537. There's the tilde. And if you were to go to Evaluate Formula, you could see what's going on. So name, it gives a list of the names. And then falses, when there's a true whenever the name is gen. Okay. And then it sums them up there. Okay. And then see, whenever it basically it's got a true, it's going to pick up what's in the units column. Okay. And then basically it gets the 9537. Okay, so that video I think is long enough. The way we save these videos, it takes a while. So what we're going to do in the next video is emulate SUMIFS, and also do another database statistical function and do it with an array. Find the number of units of lipstick sold by gen. And the beauty of that is we can use the array formula, copy it down and across, and find for every girl what they sold of every product. So we'll do that in the next video.
Okay, so thanks for watching, and there's a free course, a free 21-day course from Dr. Winston, and all of these videos are coming from one of 3 books. So first, this one, which you can see here at the top of the screen, Microsoft's book, which has 355 reviews, and then it's, let's see, 4.6 stars. It's coming from this book as well, his marketing analytics book, which is down here, and you can sort of see 4.5, or his newest book, his analytics stories book, which is here. And with that one, you can see it's 4 point something, or maybe even 5. I don't think it's 5. Yeah, 4.8. And so, yeah, anyways, in the description, there's a free 21-day course from Dr. Winston, or you can go to excelwithwayne.com/free, and it'll be there. But again, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, just please let us know. Thanks.